Hello and welcome. My name is Mark Blatstein, the physician founder of Physician Presentence Report Service. Today I'm going to go through, we're our physician prison consultants, so we're all physicians here. In addition, today I'm going to go through at the bottom of my homepage. You're going to see that this is now a weekly article, federal prison news you can use weekly. And I publish this, I try and update the content once a week. And this has been ongoing since, I would say, Director Marshall took over the Federal Bureau of Prisons on June 17th, 2025. So we're now going to get into the article itself, where he was tasked with, and this is where I started, he was tasked with, his task force for stacking or combining First Step Act and Second Chance Act credits. And this allows those on, at least in theory, who are eligible for early release to go directly to home confinement. Unfortunately, while his intentions are good, the rank and file within the Federal Bureau of Prisons, there are those that are not listening to what he wants done, and there are others that just are confused because the training has not been provided. I'm going to go through just a short series of a few of my recent articles. We're starting with on September 29th, the Federal Bureau of Prisons, essentially around this time, they're ending prison protection for workers. Basically, they've kicked the union out, which is part of Trump's overhaul of the federal workforce. I don't know that I'm in agreement with that, but I don't have an opinion. For the director of the Bureau of Prisons, he's stuck in a tough spot because he understands that the union workers, they're contributing and they're critical to the success of the Federal Bureau of Prisons and to everything that he wants to do to move the First Step Act's ambitions that President Trump had forward. So he is wanted to make absolutely clear that they're protecting job security that's protected by law. You're not going to be removed, suspended, demoted. The employees will have their pay and benefits, including their salary, retirement, health insurance, overtime. Everything is going to remain the same. And the civil service protections, including whistleblower rights and appeals, as well as any discrimination protections, remain fully in place. That may be on paper what he wants to have happen. But practically speaking, on any given day, the rules of this administration change. And so he means well. It's whether the administration with Attorney General Bondi can actually step on his feet here and inhibit what he wants to do or support him. We're going to now go through some of the additions I've added to the site. Compassionate release, the United States Sentencing Commission has really gotten down into the nitty gritty of the data and the percentages of when and where and how you make a successful compassionate release motion. And they broke it down by month, by individual court decisions by month, to where you live, each circuit and district, the year of the original sentence. It gets very granular here. And so I'm just going to touch on a few. The first one that comes up is by DC by circuits. DC circuit, your first circuit, second circuit, each one of the individual districts. All of these have been outlined so that you can take a look at them. In addition, it breaks it down by where you are in the country, what state, and what part of the state. And then it's going to break it down by month. And they break down by month from fiscal years 2022 to 2024. And you're able to see how many were granted, how many were denied, and where you fall on individual months. Some months may be better than others. So this is critical, granular information. Federal prison or federal legal news is another resource that we use. And still, in the month of September, there's half-hearted compliance, and really it's a problem. And the problem is that there are, from the rank and file within the case managers and wardens, that there are those that really want to help this succeed and get you to home confinement, early release as soon as possible. There are others that want to ignore it. And so there are still many institutions where appear to treat this as advisory rather than mandatory. Then you have AG Bondi, who's going to oppose these 2241 requests, which is the step you have to take after you've been denied a BP8, BP9, BP10, BP11, and it goes right to the court. And so she's bucking the system here. So there are cases, and you can go to here, Gonzalez versus Herrera, and you can pull it up directly online, but you can use their legal framework as to how they got the First Step Act credits to be used to reduce the sentence. Lisa Legal, great publication. Congress, though, is going to come in and they want to tackle criminal reform. Well, one of the reasons is because the Republicans are having a terrible time at this point in the year 2025. And so the Republicans are eyeing a crime bill for Trump using semaphore, September 17, 2025. Essentially, what it's going to do, and Chuck Grassley is right here, he's right on board with it, is that this national crime bill is not going to help you. Okay. The bad news is that what comes out of this is the Second Chance Act. It's going to be squashed because the Violent Crime and Control Law Act of 1994 is going to put Trump's First Step Act, Second Chance Act in a pathway where it's destined for the senator's trash can. And you can go right to this link here. We'll see if it'll pull it up. And semaphore is right here. The Republicans eye the crime bill, and they're just going to go ahead. It's going to steer it directly into the trash can. And so it's not a good place to be. Continuing, you have if you personally have a drug problem, medication assisted treatment programs, remain underutilized. A lot of it is because there is the shortages of drugs that could be used or may not be available where you wind up being incarcerated. Second is that the Bureau of Prisons is seriously considering going from Suboxone, where it's an injection that you get routinely through the health department, your health center, to dispensing strips, these Suboxone strips. And that's not a great idea because it's going to take, nobody can steal the injections from you because they're being given by the BOP staff. But once you are given these Suboxone strips, rest assured that they're going to either wind up being sold or being stolen by other inmates in the system. One more problem here is that you have staffing shortages. And so when you have correction staffing shortages, you are left with medical staff that provide medical care, teachers and psychologists who are providing the programs for the First Step Act. Well, they're not going to be able to do their jobs. They're going to be subbing in as correction staff. And so this is a problem across the system. Inmate deaths are happening, but the frequency seems to me to be a bit alarming. 4 so far, just in September. And these all can't be of natural causes. I bring up natural causes because natural causes in the Federal Bureau of Prisons is when autopsies do not have to be done. But if a death is not from a natural cause, they get autopsies. And so you want autopsies, and you want to kind of make sure, especially if it's a loved one, that what happened, it was not nefarious. St. Petersburg Low, gentleman, 39 years old, sentenced in Eastern District of North Carolina for 27 months, but he's worked his way down to a low security prison. You better be sure that low and minimum security prisons for people that do things that are illegal or harmful, or it turned out to be not contraband, but get them in trouble. They don't want to do stuff like this because they're going to be sent to a higher security facility. So I don't know. My recommendation, you may want to get an autopsy here. You don't want it to be considered just a low off the top of the head. We have here another one. This individual arrived at FCI Englewood on March 28th, pre-trial status, and he wound up dying. I mean, he was March 28th, and he was found on September 24th that he had died. And he hadn't been on his prison sentence. He was only on pre-trial status at the institution. Again, a low security, not a good thing. Here we have bring this up, a 60-year-old sentence, 60-year-old who had a 60-month sentence. He's at a federal prison camp since September 16, 2024. And between September 16, 2024 to September 8th, 2025, something happened. But these are camps. They're even more stringent that at the freestanding camp, which you could be lucky to get to. But you wind up something happening that whoever was responsible, if it wasn't natural, and it can't be, all of these are natural deaths, the person is going to wind up, who was responsible, is going to go to a higher security facility. It says no employees or other individuals were injured and no time was the public in danger. That's great, but there still is a concern in how I view it. Sex offenders, you need to make sure at sentencing, there are certain prisons that you don't want to be sent to because they have the other inmates there have a higher propensity to go after or to hurt those that have sexual offenses. sexually exploited children, sexual exploitation of children, just a conspiracy. But still, he didn't, I don't know that this person died of natural causes. And so where you are sent is a big deal if in fact your sentence as a sex offender. Applesville's been in the news because there has been multiple issues, federal women's prison in Alabama, that there were disastrous delays in medical care, letters, desperate letters, lawsuits, number of interviews with current and formerly incarcerated women inside the prison, that they had month-long waits for doctor's appointments, or retaliation from staff, terrible pain and fear. It had to be done through a Freedom of Information Act, that all of this made it into the news media. And so here I'm going to go to, this sounds like the just was an inspection report of FTC CTAC. So I'm going to jump to the actual video and hopefully we can hear it.
Quality. Indeed, as FTC CTAC's Health Services Department leadership told us, the institution's healthcare situation was a crisis. Substantial shortages of healthcare employees and correctional officers have created widespread operational challenges at FTC CTAC that substantially affect the health, welfare, and safety of employees and inmates. At the time of our inspection, FTC CTAC's Correctional Services Department was staffed at only 69%, and its Health Services Department was staffed at only 50%. The clinical director position had been vacant for at least 18 months. Only 3 of 9 nursing positions were filled.
The clinical director is responsible for healthcare. 3 of the 9 nursing positions were filled. This is not good. 1 or 2 pharmacist positions filled. That's 50%.
Only 1 of 2 pharmacist positions was filled. These shortages contributed to significant issues with FTC CTAC's provision of healthcare to inmates. For example, we found that there was a backlog of 480 laboratory orders affecting FTC CTAC's ability to monitor inmates with chronic conditions such as diabetes. There were delays in health intake screenings and in providing treatment to inmates for both routine and serious inmate health conditions. We also observed several unsafe medication administration and management practices, in addition to unsanitary and disorganized conditions in Health Services Department areas. These conditions further undermined the quality of healthcare at FTC CTAC and posed risks to employees and inmates. Additionally, we found that correctional officers did not consistently complete all inmate monitoring rounds, did not conduct random path searches of employees across all shifts, and exempted visiting attorneys entering the institution from path searches, all of which are security measures required by BOP policy to mitigate the risk of inmate self-harm, violence toward employees and other inmates, and the introduction of contraband into the institution. To read today's report and our 11 recommendations, please visit our website, oig.justice.gov, or go to oversight.gov.
So now we're going to go back to the website, and right here is the entire report where you can read it. September 10th, the entire significant shortages, everything that they talked about, but it made it much clearer in the video, which I hope you were able to hear. I can go into Aliceville. We've already been through that to a small degree, but there's a lot of information here, and all of these are original articles. I can't overemphasize transgender injunctions that block President Trump's executive orders. Too many put up by Lisa Legal. Too many executive orders interfering, in my humble opinion. I want to thank you very much for taking the time to listen in today. Hopefully you check into my website, Federal Prison News you can use, Physician Pre-Sentence Report Service. I thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope you all have a safe day.